Hello everyone, and today of course is another versus battle, but it's gonna be a little bit different this time. Today we are actually going to be doing a cross-verse battle instead of the normal, alien versus video. Do not worry, I am going to do Big Chill versus Ghost Freak. It's most likely going to be the next versus battle I do, but for right now I decided, you know what, I thought of this idea. Let's have some fun with it. Today, we are going to do the Carnitrix, or Carnitrix Ben from, well, the Carnitrix, versus Sonic.exe. Of course, going straight into it, we're going to be talking about Carnitrix Ben. And in case you don't know exactly what Carnitrix Ben is, just as a, dumbed down version, Ben accidentally finds something called the Carnitrix instead of the Omnitrix, and it kind of forces him to do horrible acts to a lot of the people that surround him. And when I mean horrible acts, mainly just one, specifically he just kills people. Granted, he doesn't want to do this, he's doing it not of his own volition, so yeah, not really a cool thing to go through as a kid, if I'm going to be honest. Immediately going into talking about the Carnitrix itself, the way it actually transforms Ben in this universe is, well, Ben doesn't get really much of a choice in the matter. It's purely based off of a threat detection system. If it detects pretty much any living thing within like 20 meters of itself, it will automatically transform Ben into a alien, just any alien. What it turns into, or what it turns him into, is normally, I'm pretty sure, random most of the time, or purely situational, except for like one which is very specific situation that led to it, but we'll get to that. Of course, the Carnitrix does modify the DNA to specifically have them, or give them, a sort of wild personality, and also affects their appearance. Obviously, as you can see, a lot of them look very scary and mutated, I guess. The Carnitrix also, if the user is hurt, can actually heal them or whatever, whether it be due to the transformations, obviously, as they're very grotesque, but also if they just get hurt in general, they also will get healed by the Carnitrix, which is at least something, but it's still a painful process to my knowledge, which you guys, I mean, look, if you've seen the aliens, yeah, it most definitely is painful. Before we get into the actual aliens, one last thing, that also the Carnitrix does for some reason is that due to its malfunctions and all of that, with its like mutations and stuff, it also essentially takes aspects from both male and female versions of the species without taking into account the user itself, which yeah, that, of course, it's also got to do that, doesn't it? Starting off with Heat Blast, there's not much added things to him. He's most likely either as strong or maybe slightly weaker than normal Heat Blast, but there's nothing saying that he is technically weaker, and in some instances some aliens are stronger, but with this Heat Blast he should be able to scale to like the big, feat from baby Heat Blast, or should definitely be able to scale above, because it's a baby Heat Blast, like, I mean, come on. And he should also have all of the powers. As the other Heat Blast, he probably just wouldn't have enough finesse, because he's more animalistic with his fire ability, so he wouldn't have a great control over them specifically. Next alien we're going to be talking about is specifically Accelerate, and just getting into its feats, it can apparently run up to 700 kilometers an hour, or 434 miles per hour, which is able to like basically A-train humans, but it's not the amazing speed a normal Accelerate, so he is technically slower than not only its original sample or anything like that, but also very much slower than Prime Accelerate, which, but it is one of the only transformations in the Carnitrix that is sentient, or has its own sentience inside the Carnitrix itself. It's described as manipulative, It lies, it's very sarcastic, sadistic, it mocks people, and so on and so forth. It also is apparently identified as mostly female, which is a weird thing to add, but it was technically deleted by malware when Ben fought, you know, malware in this timeline, but we're adding this alien anyway just to give him pretty much just everything. So, yeah. I don't really have to go over a lot of the other ones since either they don't really matter in the grand scheme of things or they basically will just have the same abilities and everything as the normal transformation. So I don't really have to go over them. Like forearms is pretty much the same. Rip jaws, wild mouth. Like I don't have to really talk about them, but I will talk about specifically, obviously, his ectoneurite transformation or ghost freak, which just a little added thing onto them is that apparently, technically Ghost Freak is still in there, but he is consumed by the mutations and modifications done to the DNA to the point where he's just not conscious anymore. So, yeah. Also, I just want to bring up that he apparently also has a hybrid transformation, but we don't ever see him transform into it, but it is in the Carnitrix. I just kind of wanted to bring that up personally. Of course, the last and most important one, obviously, of the transformations is, of course, Alien EXE, where essentially he, as soon as he transformed, he kind of just deleted his entire universe and possibly many others, which makes him extremely strong, obviously, and yeah, that's pretty much all you need to know about his strength. But of course, just to go over all of the bases, he of course has reality warping, shapeshifting, a certain type of immortality. He can kind of mess with your mind and has basically all the stuff that normal Alien X has. But I would like to remind you guys, he is technically weaker than normal Alien X, despite not having Bellicus and Serena. Yes, that is a thing. He doesn't have Bellicus or Serena, which is very interesting. Now, does any of this stack up to, EXE or Lord X? I guess we'll get into that, why don't we? Getting right into his abilities, he is, of course, well, a reality warper. He can manipulate all of the universe, or the universe that he's currently in, to basically do whatever he wants. Like, I'm not going to say he is completely limitless because we haven't really seen that much from a lot of the things he's done, just simple things. Like he can teleport, we have seen that, and just kind of changing the sky and to like a reddish color and changing the water to blood and changing also the plants and stuff to look pretty grotesque and all that. But other than that, he doesn't really have too much. He also does have this weird mouth soul obliterating thing or something along the lines of that. It's a little bit weird, but he can technically just rip out your soul and suck it into it, and it just completely erases it. So that's a thing that he has. He also has a very weird physiology or whatever, which apparently the wiki says he has and stuff like that. But this is also the wiki. Not all wikis are treated equal. Now, going into feats, I mean, he doesn't really have much. I mean, we've seen that he has changed a lot of the zones in Sonic or whatever, especially Green Hill, and like, when he changed the one zone Eggman was in, and stuff like that. So he can change entire places and possibly the entire Sonic world. He most likely has, as he changed the sky as well. But other than that, he's also taken down both Tails, Robotnik, and of course, Knuckles. And Knuckles is pretty physically strong, but he didn't really overpower him. He just kind of waited until Knuckles was just worn out and then took him out. And speaking of, he's got a very playful personality, as you can say, or I guess, as he likes playing with his prey rather than just flat out, duking it out with them. It seems he just wants to play around with them or all that before, eventually killing them. As although he has a lot of power in comparison to a lot of his opponents, he doesn't like just ending them instantly. Now, with all that taken into account, who actually wins in this fight? And to me, I think it's very clear cut, and I would rather give it to the Carnitrix, and that's simply based off of one thing, and that is, yeah, EXE would play with his food way too much, as he loves playing games with people and basically torturing them like a sadist and all of that. But he never ever just flat out just goes, oh yeah, I'm just gonna take them out. He plays with them for a little bit or whatever and then takes them out, and that's why I think that would actually lead to his downfall. Because if he just would go for the kill immediately, he would most definitely be able to just take Ben out immediately. Especially with his like reality warping and stuff. But as soon as Alien X pops out, he is basically just completely screwed. I mean, if we're assuming that, you know, Alien X scales at least somewhat to his prime counterpart, maybe not to the same amount, but he's still a Celestial Sapien, so he should have the same feats or similar enough, to the point where he could probably tank like, you know, an LILR. There's no reason for him not to be able to. I mean, just him being weaker means nothing. We don't know how weaker he is in comparison to his prime counterpart. So he would at least be multiversal at a high ball, or at least a normal, you know, scale. He would at least be universal. Which, while with EXE, we just have a random statement saying that he has limitless power and nothing else. So yeah, that's not very reassuring, and yeah, I'm sorry. Now, EXE can pull out a win, most definitely. He has stuff in his back pocket that he can just pull out to pull out a win, like being able to suck Ben's soul out of his body or whatever and just erase it, which would help. But that wouldn't stop the Carnitrix, if I'm going to be honest, because it would still be attached to his body. So you could make an argument that it would still continue to fight to stop, despite Ben not having a soul anymore, which then he would just obliterate him if, you know, he's not having fun anymore. But basically, to dumb everything down and just condense everything, if we just take in out of the equation all of the other transformations and only talk about Alien X versus EXE, I feel like Alien X has more reasonable examples for being stronger than EXE, as he has literally nothing to go off of, while Alien X has, you know, the stuff in the series. So yeah, I would give this fight personally to Carnitrix Ben. So yeah. If I get or got anything wrong, please tell me in the, you know, the comments, and why I was wrong all along, you know, other stuff. If I didn't add anything that could have swayed it in one or the other, or just completely made it, you know, concrete who wins, you can tell me that as well. But just to go over everything, you know, I do have, of course, you know, my Twitter, though, to be fair, it's not really doing good right now, so I would rather talk about, you know, my Blue Sky, which I'll probably use a lot more than my Twitter, if I'm going to be honest. I also now, funnily enough, have a Tumblr, which I will be talking about, you know, Omegatrix stuff, as well as sharing art on there, also on my Blue Sky, by the way, as well. I, of course, also have a Patreon, which, you know, I haven't posted stuff on there. I really should, but I will. Confirming now, in the future, I plan on making a sort of series of me and possibly my friends reacting to stuff like Generator Rex, maybe stuff like Max Steel, or other shows that I just kind of want to rewatch or just want to see my friends' reactions to. So they'll probably be posted on the Patreon, so if you want to see that stuff, go to the Patreon and all that. Also, the Discord will be in the description, so you can talk about either stuff like this or other videos that I've made, or just Ben 10 or other content, you know, and random stuff. But anyway, I hope you liked the video. I hope you also subscribe, and yeah, that shall be all for this video.